Hello everybody and welcome back to Miranda Detailing. In today's video, we're working on this Ford Police Interceptor and it needs a paint enhancement. So guys, let me show you what we're working on today. This Ford Police Interceptor, awesome car. This thing is a beast, but the paint is full of water spots. So we're gonna give it a paint enhancement and see if we can remove the majority of those water spots. They're really bad. Let's take a look. Hi, mister. What? Really? That sounds complaining. All right, guys, so here's the Police Interceptor, and let's see if we can focus in on those horrible water spots. Now, it looks like somebody was already here with a buffer, with a rotary buffer, trying to remove them, and it looked like they started to remove them, but they just instilled a ton of their own buffer trails and just made it look even worse. So we're going to attack it, see what we can do to remove these or reduce them, make it look much better. It is really bad, really hard water spots. But we'll see if a single stage or a paint enhancement can reduce those or get rid of them sufficiently to bring the gloss back and make it look nice again. Yep, that is really bad. So that's going to be the majority of this detail. It's pretty much all over the entire car. Roof, the door panels, even the windshield and the glass. It's all over it. All of the metal bits here, the pillars. It's very, very bad, unfortunately. And these panels are huge. So the Police Interceptors are Ford Tauruses and they've been beefed up, and this one, yeah, it is awesome. Reinforced frame, beefed up engine, everything is just so, of course, being a police car, they need it to be. It's armored doors and everything. I don't think it's bulletproof glass, but maybe it is. Yes, I see you. Everybody sees you. Yes. Okay guys, so the wash process is done, but now we're deconning. So I just sprayed the Meguiar's iron decon over the entire vehicle because it's white and you'll be able to see any of the iron particles being dissolved. So there's a few there. They're all along the bottom here. You can see the iron particles being dissolved. We'll let it sit for another minute or so. There's some more, and they're all speckled throughout the back here. So over the entire, not so much the top here, a few little spots here and there, but mostly the entire back area is just speckled. But it's not horrible. It's just little bits here and there, these little iron particles being dissolved. Now it's pretty cool today, even though it's in the sun, it's not really drying. So it can dwell here for a minute or two. This side, not as much, a little bit towards the bottom, but not as much. more up here, and the hood, surprisingly, has a lot more than I thought. It's kind of speckled throughout the entire front of the hood here. Here's a good specimen right there. Now, some of them are stone chips that, of course, the metal underneath, it starts to rust and it reacts and it bleeds. So it's not necessarily a particle that's embedded, but all these little tiny smaller ones most likely are iron particles embedded in the paint being dissolved. And if you rub your finger across it gently, you can feel that it will actually get picked up from the paint, and then the paint is nice and smooth for the most part because it's all water spotted. So let's rinse this off, and I do have a chemical from Automagic that is a water spot remover. I've had this for a while, don't know how potent it's going to be, but we're going to try it out. So this stuff smells like almost like a vinegar type of smell. So it's an acidic base. It's going to dissolve mineral deposits. So hopefully it'll help it. I don't expect it to completely make it go away, but we'll see if it helps. I'll give it time to dwell, but I'll also work it in with a towel and see if we can further disrupt those particles, those mineral deposits, kind of work it into the paint, and especially the glass. That's really bad also. It feels smoother. Some areas like here that feel really bad. So it's not drying on completely, it's still fine. I'll give it another minute and let it dwell, and then we'll rinse it off and do another shampoo foam rinse to kind of neutralize it, and then dry it, blow it off, and see the results. Okay, so fully washed, deconned, and we did actually a couple of applications of, where'd it go? We did a couple of applications of the water spot remover from Automagic, and I've had this stuff for a couple of years now, and you're supposed to dilute it, but not knowing the potency of it, I just put it on straight, but of course it was wet. So we applied it to the panels as they were wet, and did it work? Well, not completely. It's really swirled anyway, but I think it did remove, I would say, I don't know, 50 to 75% of the water spots. However, it really did a good job on the glass. I really doused it on the glass and let it sit for a long time, and it did an excellent job. So it did work on the glass for the most part. There's some corners here and here that are really bad. I'll see if I can polish those out by hand. But even the rest of it up here, pretty decent, not perfect. The sides weren't too bad anyway. You can still see some of the water spotting here, but I think it's reduced enough to the point where a one-step polish or a paint enhancement should be able to hopefully get the rest, or at least reduce that so it doesn't look so atrocious. Word of the day, atrocious. Stop laughing at me. This area was really bad. The back glass is still really bad though. This was one of the worst areas, you can really see. So I'm gonna have to compound this heavily. And here, yeah, you can still see some of the water spots definitely, but they're not as bad as they were. I know it looks bad. That means that befores were really, really bad. But even the glass here, there's a little bit of spotting here still. It's all around the edges where the water kind of collects is where a lot of the spots are, but this is not spotted anymore. This has some spots on it, but that should hopefully be reduced dramatically. We have these parts here they tried to touch up with paint, and these parts here, this is where the brackets for the lights went for the police car. We have a lot of dings and stuff that they touched up. And check this out on this side. Not sure if that was dog scratches or, of course, you know, police with all of their equipment, or you know, slamming bad dudes against the vehicle, probably doing this damage here. So not much we can do with that. Those are really deep gouges in the paint. But let's polish this thing. Let's start. I'm going to keep it out here for now because you can see the results with the sun. My car is in there right now, and I may pull it out if I feel like it. But oh, hi, mister. So let's work out in the sun today because it is nice out today. We'll show you what the results are. I'm going to start in this panel here so you can see those are the befores. Let's see if we can improve that. Okay, so 3D1 with an orange cutting pad does well, but let's bump it up to the Eurofiber 50/50 and see if we can get just a little bit more cut. These water spots are so bad, it's helping, but not removing them completely. In certain areas, they're coming out, but this area is really bad. So the panel looks really nice and glossy and swirl-free, but the water spots are so bad that they're not really coming out completely. Here is much better, but up here, they're really bad. So it seems like there's going to be sections where I might have to go a little bit heavier with the compound, while areas like this seem to be clearing up really well. So still huge contrast from that to that. It's better, but still water spots, you can see. So we'll do our best. They won't come out completely, but at least the paint will look super glossy, and I can still feel them just a little bit. Very little improvement on the water spots. These aren't going away. I could wet sand them, but that's not what this service is going to include and not really what the customer wants right now. So we're simply going to do our best to reduce the spots, and at least it'll make the paint glossy. But yeah, those spots are very, very difficult to remove. You'd have to attack them with maybe wet sanding and really go after them, but that's not what we're doing here today. So work with what the customer wants and what their budget is. So I'm going to continue to use 3D1 for pretty much the rest of it, and we'll keep checking along the way. All right, so we are making some progress. That's before, that's after. So the swirls and horrible hazing are being reduced to that. Now that's acceptable for a paint enhancement, so that is so much better. However, the heaviest water spots are up here, and you can still see them. So I tried compounding them heavier, but I'm most likely not going to go any further than that for now. Unless we can try to do some wet sanding, but I really don't want to go too far. But from that to this, even with some water spotting, not bad at all. And it took away all the horrible buffer trails that were here from somebody else attacking it. So that's much better. The water spots seem to definitely be worse up here. Usually that's where the water just kind of settles from when you're driving. All right, so we switched to the garage. I can polish outside, but our trees around here are dropping all these little annoying little seedlings. It's just annoying. So I have the garage, pulled it right in, and I'm gonna continue polishing. And the majority is coming out really well, but there are some really bad areas. The glass, it may not really come off the glass the way that I want it to. It's so etched, it's so bad. The only way that you can remove it from the paint, 100%, 98%, is wet sanding. And I did a little area just to test with 3000 grit, and it worked. But again, I just wanted to see if it would actually come out, and it does. So to really remove all these spots 100%, you're going to be wet sanding the entire thing, or all those bad portions, and heavily compounding them and removing all of those wet sanding marks. So again, that's not what the customer is paying for. I just wanted to see if it would work, and it does. So really, to get out water spots, compounding like this heavily works. It helps, but it's not 100%. I'm saying maybe 75 to 80%. Of the water spots. The paint's looking super glossy and pretty much swirl free, but those water spots are actually etched into the paint in a different way than scratches are. It's like the deposits are deeper than the swirls, and really that's what it's doing. The water has kind of etched into the paint itself, and the swirls come out no problem, but you're still left with the little circles of the water spots. So let me show you how this is coming out, at least. Much better, but the roof, I don't know if I'll be able to make it look much better. So the panel I was just working on looks fantastic, but it wasn't really bad here. You can see the water spots here on the little aluminum trim, still really bad. I'm going to try to get this out a little bit better, but again, that's aluminum trim and you can't wet sand that, or at least I'm not going to wet sand that. But the rest of the paint is starting to look pretty much like this. You can still see a little bit of the outline of the water spots, but it's better than, say, that. And I already compounded that heavily. The top is the worst. It's really, really bad. More so than the trunk and the hood. In fact, the hood only has bad areas in sections. So like right here, really bad. I wet sanded a little portion here, and it does look really, really good. And I also wet sanded a small portion right here. So you can see there's the water spots, and here's where I wet sanded a little bit. And really that's just 3000 grit, just a few passes. It makes a world of difference. But again, that took me maybe 10-15 minutes to wet sand and compound. But I can't do that over the entire vehicle if the customer is not paying for that. So as detailers, yes, we tend to go a little overboard. That's just what we do. But remember, don't go too overboard. The customer is paying a certain price for this. I quoted him. I'm sticking to that price, making it look as... That plane, really? Living near an airport. It's annoying. All right, be careful not to go too overboard. I know as detailers, that's what we tend to do. But if you quote the customer a certain price and you see that it needs much more work, don't kill yourself. Don't go beyond. Talk to the customer, let them know the expectations. I already let this customer know it's not going to come out 100%. I already said 75, maybe 80%. There's going to be areas that are going to stay that way because it's an older vehicle and it's obviously been next to sprinklers or just rinsed off, and all these water spots are just really set in the paint. And does the customer really want to pay $800 to maybe even $1,200 for full wet sanding and compounding and polishing when they really don't want to do that? If the customer is willing to pay that, great. Then go full 100%, get everything out, wet sand, do everything that you can. But this vehicle right here, I'll be honest, I'm charging $400 for the full exterior paint enhancement, and I'm adding on like a nice ceramic sealant. But that's it. I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to wet sand. I'm not going to go any further than what you see right here because the customer's not going to pay for it. You don't want to go too far above and beyond because then it starts to hurt you. And it would take another day for me to actually do all of that. And I don't even think I have enough wet sanding paper to do that. So I would have to go out and buy wet sanding paper and spend all that extra time and energy and maybe a little bit more money to get it perfect. So be careful with that. Just a word of caution. I know as detailers who want to go above and beyond, as a business, you need to know where to draw that line. So that's what we're doing. But with that said, the vehicle is still coming out really, really well, and I think he's going to be very happy with it. Let's continue around and we'll continue polishing. Well, we've made our way around the vehicle, and still, I'd say the roof and just the section closest to the windshield on the hood are the worst areas. And that's because I have all these lights on them. I'm sure when I pull out into the sun, it's super glossy. You'll most likely still see the little rings around those water spots, but that's what we're gonna have to deal with. So it's a white car at least, and it doesn't show up as much as a black vehicle would. It would be much, much worse. Really, it all depends on the water spots, how long they've been there, all sorts of different variables. We've actually polished a black Jaguar with water spots like this, and we had to do pretty much a paint correction to it, and I'd say about 90 to 95% of those water spots were removed, and the car looked incredible. But who knows what type of minerals those were. Was it calcium? Was it iron deposits? What was it? So we really don't know, unfortunately. So whatever this is, it's really, really strong. And the only way to really remove it would be to wet sand. Take 3000 grit in probably a 6-inch palm sander and wet sand those areas and then compound them. And they would come out looking 100% perfect. But That's not what we're doing. So I would have to charge a lot more to do that. Now, I don't think the customer is going to want to pay an extra $800 or so to have me fully wet sand and then compound everything to get it perfect. It's a used cop car, so we're only going as far as we should. So, you know, when it comes to jobs like this, as detailers, we want to get it perfect. We want to go overboard and make sure that the customer is extremely happy and that everything is looking perfect. But the reality is, it's not going to happen that way. So just make sure to get to a certain standard, a certain level, and then stop. Don't go any further because you're going to be only hurting yourself. And the customer may not even notice at all. They might, but most of the time they are not going to notice. Do they have lights like these and like that? No. They're going to see it in the sunlight, and are they going to take care of it the way that we would? Probably not. So don't go crazy thinking that we have to get it 100% perfect because the customer is going to see it. Most likely they're not. So rant over. I'm going to concentrate on these pillars. They're really bad, and I'm going to use 3D1. Now, you saw me using 3D1 on the hood with the Eurofiber pad, and that was working, but I then just switched to the Meguiar's cutting disc and D300 compound just because I needed a little bit more extra cut, and I didn't want to use the 3D1 so much on this vehicle. I figured I got plenty of D300, it's cheaper, and I'm just going to use that and it gets great results. So 3D1 was working, but I want to save that for other jobs because this needed some extra cutting, and the D300 and the cutting disc was working really, really well. I used a bunch of different things. I had to bump it up to 105, and then I bumped it up to M100 compound for the roof here. Made it look a little bit better. That's as heavy as I'm going to go with this. And I know it's supposed to be a paint enhancement or a one-step. It kind of turns into much, much more. Let's now hit these pillars. They're just really, really ugly. And I'm going to take 3D1 and an orange cutting pad, and let's hit these. So really bad looking. Ugh, those are really bad. We have 3D1 and the orange cutting pad. So let's see what it can do. Now, why am I not using a 3-inch pad? Because it makes a difference. With the larger throw here, it actually finishes these much, much better. That's just what I found. I used to use the 3-inch on these, but I found that it would actually oscillate a little bit too aggressively and leave a lot of marring behind. So this is actually working a lot better. With these soft pillars, just be really, really gentle on the wipe off. Extremely light touch. And flip your towel often so that you don't have a buildup of residue. Holy moly. Holy moly. All right. Whoa. That's insane. That's incredible. I can't focus on it. Don't know what to focus on. Manual focus. There. Yeah, see? You see the little scratches right there? But the swirls, completely gone. Wow. This must be really, really soft. But then again, it left absolutely no marring behind. Nothing. Just those little deeper scratches, which I'm not going to attack. But wow. Okay, I'm in love with 3D1. This stuff is incredible. All right, guys, we are towards the end now of the polishing. It's pretty much all polished as best as we can get it, and it really does look good. It's super glossy, and the water spots are reduced dramatically. So, you know, with all the powerful lights in here, you can see it. With all the powerful lights in here, you can see them a lot more, and yeah, you'll probably see them in the sun too. It still looks amazing. So, we just cleaned all of the glass. Actually, there's a little spot in there I need to get. Okay, that's much better. That was annoying me. I saw that right in the light. Let's get to now the protection part. So all the glass is cleaned. So I'm going to use Dr. Beasley's Glass IQ on the windshield. And then we are going to coat it with Wolfgang Uber Ceramic Spray Coating. So I just got this little bottle here, and you can actually buy it on Amazon. I'll have links down below. Hopefully they're not sold out, but I'll have the links down below for all of the stuff that you see us using here. It'll go either to Amazon or Car Supplies Warehouse. Check out the links down there. Purchase some of the stuff if you want to. So first thing I'm going to do is give it a wipe down. Now I was using 3D1, D300. I was using compound, so there's really not a lot of fillers in here, but I'm going to give it a good wipe down anyway. Here's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the P&S Paint Coating Surface Prep. Now this stuff you can buy at Car Supplies Warehouse. In fact, you can buy all of the P&S products there. And you usually use this before you apply a traditional ceramic coating, like the Inspiration ceramic coating from P&S. So all of this is the double black Rennie Doyle collection. So all of Rennie Doyle's marketed stuff here, really nice stuff. I'm really enjoying using all the P&S products. I haven't used this coating yet, but I will be doing that and making a video for you guys showing you how to apply this. It's basically a 1 to 2 year coating, and I want to see how easy it is to apply. So this is the surface prep that you use before it, pretty much like Car Pro Eraser or Geon Prep. It is the last step, wipe down before you put a coating. This is going to remove any polishing oils, anything like that. It's not made for removing waxes and sealants. That's not what it's for. It's an IPA, it's an isopropyl alcohol base, probably a mixture of different types of alcohols, natural alcohols that are out there. And it says it does remove wax and silicone. There's been tests out there that a lot of these panel wipes don't necessarily remove 100% of it. You may need to do multiple passes with it, but why waste the product? Compound everything, polish everything, and then just use this as a wipe down just to get the polishing oils, which those aren't going to really bond to the paint. They're just kind of laying on there and maybe filling in some minor imperfections depending on the polishes that you have. So let's use this stuff to prep, and let me get a nice fresh towel, and then we'll get to prepping all of the paint. First, let me get a plush towel. Perfect. And I'm going to spray it on the towel. You can spray it on the paint if you want, but it reduces the amount of product that you use. Don't overuse paint preps. I just don't. I don't douse the paint in them. Sometimes if you're dealing with delicate paint, your towel can still mar the paint just slightly, or if there's a little particle in there, it could do that. It's not much lubrication in paint preps, but this feels really nice. Wow. Okay, awesome. That's great. I'm also going to spray the glass because I'm going to put the Dr. Beasley's glass coating on here. Okay, paint prep done. I used maybe less than an ounce, not bad. But now we're going to use, where'd it go? The Wolfgang ceramic spray coating. Now it says up to a year of protection. Pretty awesome. I'm sure when you maintain it properly, you can use silica sprays on top of this. There's a variety of them out there. You can even use something like Bead Maker. You can just spritz it on as a drying aid, and you're already adding the protection on there, so it's another added layer. So maintenance is key to any type of protection, even waxes and sealants. You want to use some sort of spray wax or sealant on top of that. Don't just let it go completely, because waxes and sealants are going to degrade very, very fast. Coatings also will degrade just at a slower rate, but they still need maintenance. So let's get to applying this, but first, I need a coffee. So I just have a little foam applicator, a little microfiber applicator, and I have a fresh towel here for the wipe off. And usually I would apply this just with the towel alone, but I'm going to be a little bit more precise and use this. Let's see if I like it or not. If I don't like it, I'll probably just chuck it and just use the towel. But let's do this. I'm going to spray and prime it. Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. This applies like a true ceramic coating. This is really interesting. Okay. It smells like mint. It flashes away extremely fast, but you can see, ooh, that is nice. You can see it kind of do its little rainbow effect as it flashes. And it's slightly grabby, just slightly. But again, that's, nature of some of these coatings. So I'm going to apply it to the applicator. And let's see if we can see how this is going on and show you how it's applying in the light. So you can see how it goes on, kind of like a traditional coating, and it flashes away very, very fast, and it's a very easy removal. Wow, that is nice stuff. Oh boy, hi buddy. Hi. Hi. You just ate, you're fine. You just ate, you're fine. Meow. So for a entry-level ceramic coating, I would definitely suggest this stuff. Easy, easy, easy to apply. So now that the pad is primed, I'm putting just 1 to 2 pumps of the coating, and that's it. And it spreads very easily, very smooth. And I'm pretty much applying it and wiping it right off because it starts to flash immediately. And there's absolutely no residue or anything left behind. It's perfect. This stuff is a pleasure to use. Really nice. Paint is looking incredible. Man, it's glossy, and that stuff is incredible. Now, it feels like a traditional coating and applies like a traditional coating. Very impressed. The only thing I would suggest for Wolfgang to do is give you an extra couple of those little spray tips or a little cap to cap it so that you can take that spray tip, clean it out, let it dry completely. I had to wash it out and then take my air compressor and blow out the little press trigger, make sure everything is dry, and then put it back in there because I just don't want anything to crystallize in there. This feels like a very strong coating, and it might do that. Maybe not, but I want to be on the safe side on them, and I'm going to do that. Now with coatings like this one here, this is not as strong as some of the other pro level coatings for glass and paint, so I'm not that concerned about the trigger. It hasn't crusted up on me at all, but I don't think it's that type of a coating. So like many SiO2 spray coatings and sealants, it's a very low percentage of SiO2, and it doesn't crystallize in the bottles. And it doesn't crystallize on the towels or in the bottles or in the triggers. So, it's not as strong as a traditional coating, but that's all right. It still does the job. Especially this stuff, I've used it on my own vehicle, and I really do like the Dr. Beasley's Glass IQ. Super easy to apply, and you get awesome water beading for at least 3 to 4 months. So I'm going to apply this to the rest of the glass. Don't forget your little mirror here. Just make sure that your glass is completely clean and prepped. All right, so for the tires, I'm going to use 303 Tire Balm and Protectant. This stuff is pretty nice. It's not my favorite, but on some tires, it does really, really well. So I'm actually going to wipe these tires down again. I degrease them and scrub them, but I'm going to wipe them down again and make sure that they're completely clean. Sometimes these tires are really, really dirty and they just need to be wiped down again. So I'm just going to use a little bit of Hyper Cleanse. This stuff is very, very strong, but you can also use it for the interior on delicate leather. Pretty interesting. I just love the way that this stuff cleans. It's a little bit of a bougie product. I have to admit, it's a little pricey, but man, it does a great job. All right, that's pretty decent. The tire bomb. So I have like a little 4-inch pad. It's actually like an old CCS polishing pad that I don't like. I don't like these 4-inch pads like this. So they end up being perfect for tire dressing. Now this stuff is a little gooey. It's a little runny, but it smells really nice. But you can work it into the tire and it kind of goes on bluish, almost like the Optimum tire coating. But this stuff, in my opinion, is much easier to work with, and I think the results are a little bit better. But again, that's just me, and it also depends on the tire. Some tires don't like this dressing, and others love it. This seems to be really liking it. It's taking it very, very well, and once it's applied, we'll let it dry. And if I need to, I'll come back and maybe work it into some of these little areas. But I think it looks really, really good. It's actually kind of already drying and looking amazing. So for the wheel itself, I'm going to use ceramic slam to protect this. So I'm going to spray it onto a towel first. I don't want to just spray it onto the wheel itself. And just apply it to the entire wheel, to the little chrome center piece. And this is just going to give it that extra pop and give it amazing protection. Let's get all the 4 wheels and tires done, and then we'll bring it out into the sun and check it out. All right, guys, we pulled it out into the sun, and it's a good thing we have sun today. It's beautiful. It's actually getting warmer out. Engine bay looks really nice. It wasn't really bad in here anyway. And let's look at the paint now. Wow, so much better. The water spots are still here. They're really, really bad, but it's not like before. And really, it's just up here and the roof that's still pretty bad. There were some sections that came out better than others. I don't know why, but the lights were here, so you can see how it messed up the paint. Nothing I can do about that. But that section under here is nicer, but then it's water spots here, so that's not a before and after. That's just underneath the lights. So that's the best I could do on the roof. Unfortunately, it would need to be wet sanded. That's really the worst of it in this back glass. I compounded this heavily, but I can't get those water spots out. And I did try kind of an old detailer's trick, soaking paper towels in vinegar and laid it on here on the glass for about 20-30 minutes. Still didn't do anything. There might be some other magic potions out there that can get water spots like this off of. Now, remember, before you offer a suggestion, these water spots were compounded heavily with a microfiber cutting pad and M100. That's a very, very strong combination, and it barely touched it. So before you suggest chemicals, I already used a type of chemical that was an acid-based water spot remover. Keep that in mind. There's no magic product out there that will just remove water spots 100% all the time, no matter what. So think before you suggest. The trunk came out much better. It was really, really bad before, but you really have to focus in on them. And the paint seems, I don't know, a medium softness, medium to hard. And I just compounded. I didn't even need to polish it because it's white and it looks amazing. I just prepped it with the prep spray from P&S and coated it with the Wolfgang spray coating, and we're good to go. Yeah, some of these areas, the lower portions, came out much, much better, but still some pretty hard water spots there that I could not remove. But the rest of it, look how glossy it is. The pillars, they look incredible, amazing. They came out beautiful. And after a couple of minutes, the 303 tire bomb, it looks really nice on these tires. Ceramic slam on the wheels, super glossy and slick, nice and protected, easy to clean now. So here's what we did. Here's water spots here. These are pretty hard. And if we go into here, you can see how they disappear. I wet sanded this with 3000 grit. I did a little bit on the roof. I did a little bit on the hood also, but just a test spot here, that's what it would take. Wet sanding it with 3000 and then compounding it. And I didn't even polish that. That's just compounded. And it looks incredible. And again, that's white paint for you. If you wanted to go all the way, removing water spots, 3000 grit wet sanding and then compounding. But overall, oh, I hate these things. Come on, trees. Look at these things. Crazy, right? That's what I have to deal with. It's nice shade and everything, but makes a mess on our cars. Our poor Avalon was washed just the other day. Still looks nice and glossy and clean. The Turtle Wax black polish and waxed used here. Look how nice it still looks. Awesome. For those of you who are doubting the whole black polish and wax, the acrylic line from Turtle Wax, well, don't knock it until you try it. And stop with all of the crazy things that you're saying. It's just dyes and pigments and it'll wash away. No, it won't. Stop saying that until you use it. Real world conditions, black car, and I did this outside in the full sun. That's proof, period. So the Police Interceptor is done. This thing is a beast. Man, so many cool upgrades to these Police Interceptors. The owner was telling me a lot of cool stuff about these cars. They are beefed up. Of course, for a cop car, if you're going to get into chases and all that crazy stuff, you need a beefed up car like this. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Share it with others who may also benefit from it and enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell. That way you get notifications each time these videos drop each week and you don't miss stuff. Oh, one quick thing that I forgot to mention. Now with this coating, you're supposed to let it sit 24 hours, not getting it wet. Don't wash it for a week or two. Treat it like a traditional coating. So I don't know if the customer has a garage or not. I'll have to ask him. However, we're not supposed to get any rain for the next 24 hours, so we should be good. But ideally, you want this in a garage, curing for 24 hours, and then you'll be good to go. Ooh, what do we have here? I don't know. Oh, look at that. Ah, waiting for those. Ooh. And this is my new retractable cord to go on my trailer. We're gonna install this. Oh, and this is a quick release for my GoPro.